Hello, everyone, and welcome to a Premier League breakdown review show on Football Tour Podcast. My name is Ozzie, and I'm your host for this evening. What a game we encountered last night as Newcastle lost 3-2 to Liverpool, and the sort of headlines of the game was that a new star was born in the name of Rio and Gamora, aka Starboy Rio. So, of course, we'll be speaking about him during the show. Let's start with the game, which was, of course, at St James's Park, and of course, there was a lot of annoyed Newcastle fans before the game in terms of what's been happening off the grid in terms of the whole transfer saga regarding Alexander Isak. So because of that, there was a little bit more spice, a bit more, a bit more fight coming from the Newcastle fans. They were suggesting that the likes of Joe Linton and Tonali, would eat the Liverpool midfielders alive. Well, that definitely didn't happen. One dislocated shoulder from pushing around Ekitike during the game, and the other one fell to ground, and God knows what he injured. So that's not how it panned out in the end for Newcastle. But in terms of the game, the opening minutes and the opening sort of possibly even the first half an hour of the game, Newcastle were all guns blazing, all gas, no brakes, as Jacob Fatu would say from WWE. But it was Liverpool who took the lead. And what a finish it was. Groundberg gets the ball from the edge of the box, hits a low shot towards the near post, posting in. Great finish from the midfielder. And it was a time where Liverpool pretty much didn't have any grip of the game whatsoever. It was our real first effort on goal, as it was all Newcastle. Let's not be around the bush. They had the most possession, they controlled the game. But in football, it only takes a moment of brilliance to break the deadlock. And for all that aggression and hard work, Newcastle unfortunately didn't have nothing to show for it at the time. But Liverpool capitalized and took the lead in the first half. But in the same moment, the game had changed as Anthony Gordon fouled Van Dijk and received a red card. Now, my initial thought when I saw the foul, I thought it was a yellow card. I thought it was a block. But I've been looking at the replays and the different angles. It was quite evident that that was a dirty and reckless challenge from Anthony Gordon. No excuses there. It was a rash challenge. And for me, thoroughly deserved to get sent off during the game. In the second half, Liverpool took everyone by surprise, including Arne Slot, who actually didn't see the goal live, as they made it 2-0 in 20 odd seconds. Great finish from Hugo Ekitike, who was getting booed throughout the game, but kept his calm and composure throughout. And the goal itself hit the ball with the perfect power, posting in. And after that, it felt like it should have been one-way traffic, or Liverpool should have been cruising at that point. But Newcastle hit another gear and were probably the most energetic team. It felt like Liverpool had 10 men, not the other way around. And Newcastle got their reward in the end for all that hard work, as they made it 2-1 with a header from Bruno Guimaraes. Now, let's talk from a Liverpool point of view. That was terrible defending from Milos Kerkez, bending over to give Guimaraes a piggyback to help him leap in the air and hit the ball into goal. For me, is unacceptable. In those situations, you have to be more aggressive. You have to push the player out the way rather than bend down and thinking that's going to be enough to obstruct him. That's not how it works. Uh, Also, maybe a little bit harsh, but questionable positioning from Allison, who was behind the goal when he tried to make the save. Had he been a bit more on the forefront and ahead of the line, maybe he would have been better positioned to make that block. But maybe I'm nitpicking in regards to that moment there. But Newcastle made it 2-2 through one of their substitutes in Osula. The Danish striker applies the faintest of touches to bring the score level. But from a Liverpool point of view, poor defending from Konate, who allowed the ball to bounce way too easily over him. And Gravenberch, to be fair, should have done better as well, in my opinion. Should have been a lot more tighter on the striker, but Osula took advantage and applied the finish. But typical Liverpool style, Liverpool do things the hard way. And look, credit to Rio Gamora, who, you know, came off the bench and scored the winner in the very last minute of the game. And what a goal it was. And look, credit to Rio. In those kind of moments, I've seen strikers that are or full of experience, hit those shots over the bar. So it's not an easy finish. I know he's quite close to the goal. He's pretty much close to the penalty spot, but you have to put into context he's a 16-year-old who's just made his debut on the professional scale. So for him, it's a huge moment for the kid. But the way he finished that shot there, lethal finish in the bottom corner. Great goal from Starboy Rio, as I like to refer to him. But in the end, what a win for Liverpool. And the Geordies were certainly rattled after the game. And look, despite trailing, Liverpool managed to take all 3 points. And that's what matters in the end. Of course, there will be a lot of discussions in regards to us conceding goals yet again. But let's talk about some of the key moments of the game. Now, the first one is, of course, this foul on Gordon. Looking at the angle there, there is no way anyone can defend that. Even if you're a Newcastle fan, you have to be honest. That is an awful challenge, and a red card was the right decision, and there should not be any other decision other than a sending off there. And just to prove, what happened in terms of the impact of that tackle, Van Dijk got scratches on his calf through the studs from Anthony Gordon. So that pretty much shows the impact of that tackle there. And for me, the decision was the right one. So credit to the ref and the VAR. Now, before that red card, I have to be honest, Anthony Gordon was probably one of the best players on the pitch. And one person that was having a difficult afternoon, or evening, I should say, was Ibu Kanate. Now, he's produced for me another woeful performance. Last week against Bournemouth, he was shocking. Against Newcastle, I think he was a little bit worse, if I'm being brutally honest. So, is this a big worry for Liverpool going forward? It could be. I have to be brutally honest. The form that he's shown in recent weeks is very unlike Ibu Konate. He does have these moments where he might give the ball away or he'll be a bit rash in the tackle. But generally, his overall game is quite solid. He's a consistent performer whenever he's played for Liverpool. But in the last couple of weeks, I don't know what's happened now. Fans will say that maybe it's the contract situation where it's got the best of him, where he's not able to focus on his football. Some may say that the possible rumors surrounding Real Madrid making a late bid in this window. Um, I'm not too sure what to make of it. It feels like he's not in full focus. There's something bothering him, or there's something that's not allowing him to play his game. And of course, there's other rumors suggesting that Liverpool are going to strengthen the squad by signing another defender, Mark Gay. Today's development is that Liverpool are trying their best to continue talks and get a deal done in the hope that the Crystal Palace chairman reduces the asking price. Whether that happens or not remains to be seen. But from a short term or medium term point of view, Konate needs to fix up. This is a huge concern. Uh, I can't say that, oh, he'll be all right. He hasn't shown me enough to be like he'll be all right. It's a mental thing. It's not ability. We know what he possesses as a player. He's one of the best centre backs in the world, in my opinion. Like he's that good. But in recent weeks, I have been quite surprised with the level he's produced, and it could be a number of things. It could be the contract situation. It could be the potential move to Real Madrid happening sooner rather than later, or the prospect of Liverpool adding more defenders to the squad, and he might be feeling the pressure. I'm not quite so sure. But what I do know is he needs to fix up and fix up sharp because we face Arsenal this Sunday and he needs to be on top of his game. If he has another woeful performance like that, Liverpool, I hope, can strengthen the squad this week before the window closes. And if it is Mark Gay, it could be where a battle is on his hand to, remain in the team. But, we can discuss that at a later time because, of course, the Mark Gay deal has not been concluded yet. And another performance that we have to talk about is Virgil van Dijk. He was immense in this game. He was so dominant from start to beginning, and that was, a true performance from a leader of your team. He was a solid as a rock in that back line, and I'll be frank, he pretty much carried Konate throughout that whole game. If it wasn't for Van Dijk, it could have been a lot worse for Liverpool. So for me, showed his dominance once again, and yes, so good to see him playing at his prime level. Because some fans, more so coming from rival fans, have dismissed, Virgil van Dijk just because he hasn't produced the same type of game that he did a few years ago. But as you get older, you have to adapt. And of course, he suffered a very serious injury a few years ago, so he's had to, adjust his game a little bit. But for me, he's dominant as ever. He doesn't need to, accelerate in certain moments. His reading of the game is two, three steps ahead of anyone else's. So for me, what he brings to the table is exactly what Liverpool need. We've got a leader at the back. We've got someone that is a positive influence on the team and the squad. So for me, he's playing that captain role pretty much perfectly right now. And another person who, for me, really stood out yesterday was Dominic Szoboszlai. He was made as a makeshift right back, which surprised a lot, including myself. I was expecting him to play in the middle of the park and maybe having Curtis Jones playing at right back instead. But in the end, I have to be honest, it was probably the right call for Arne Slot to put Szoboszlai on that right hand side because it was supposed to be a weak area for Liverpool. But I never felt that whilst watching that game. He was so screwed on in terms of what his job was, needed in terms of what he had to bring to the table. He was defensively sound, didn't really get, burnt by any of the wingers. Harvey Barnes was very quiet throughout that game. And then what impressed me the most was his decision making, his passing, his distribution was really good. Uh, Made some overlapping runs at the right time. It wasn't, too, it wasn't attacking in full force. He pretty much was very calculated and knew when to go further up and when to hold back and maintain his position. So for me, a fantastic performance. But not only that, during the game, he had to play a couple of other positions as well. He was in a double pivot for a short period of time and then played as an advanced number 10 as well. So for me, he just had the complete performance. I was probably, before the match winner in Rio and Gomov was probably my man of the match. Uh, Van Dijk was pretty much very close to him as well in sort of the pecking order. But for me, he was outstanding. And the winning goal as well, I'll be honest with you, it feels like a very simple thing that he did in terms of, dumbing it and letting the ball go through his legs. But I've seen players take the control on the turn and try and take a shot on goal and not really have the awareness around him. So just because he made it easy doesn't mean it's an easy thing to produce. So I'll give him credit for that as well. So yeah, he was fantastic last night. And we have to speak about Hugo Ekitike. 3 goals in 3 games, and his performance, they get better and better. Like he's really getting accustomed to the way we play. He's getting accustomed to the Premier League. I'll be honest with you, out of all of our new signings, he's the one that has literally surpassed many expectations. I think some of us were thinking, Kirkis would do really well because he's a Premier League proven player. But Ekitike, it looks like he's been playing the Premier League for years. That like that's how much confidence he's shown. That's how much, you know, assertiveness in the way he plays right now. So for me, he's a joy to watch, and he gives us something different. He's the complete forward. When I say he's a complete forward, he can do a bit of everything. He's someone that can link up the play very, very well to a high level. He can drop deep. He can attack the channels. He's got a good shot on him. He's not one of those strikers that just laces the ball all the time. He's very precise and very accurate with his shooting. So for me, he's got a great all-round game. His hold-up play is very impressive. I know he's quite tall, but he's more Langley than being, a very physical specimen. So for me, he holds the ball up really well. And yeah, long may it continue in terms of good form. And some fans have even, said it out loud. Do we even need to sign another striker? Do we need to sign Alexander Isak? For me, the answer is yes. We still need to sign Alexander Isak. For me, Isak is still one of our main targets. We only have one striker in the squad now. Touch wood, if Ekitike was to pick up an injury, who comes in to replace him? if you look at our squad right now, it would be Chiesa. And as much as I love Chiesa, he doesn't give me confidence when he's a striker because yesterday it showed that he struggled against real physical defenders, and the league is full of them. So for me, having a striker like Chiesa doesn't bode too much confidence going forward. But I like to see Chiesa, come off the bench and be an impact player more than anything else. So I feel like we need to address that position. We need to add another attacker to our squad, plus a centre back, maybe even another winger because we haven't replaced Luis Diaz. Let's be honest. So only time will tell in terms of what business Liverpool do. But we've got just under a week. Next Monday is the deadline day, so 6 days left. So hopefully Liverpool can do some business. Before we move on, let's go through some of the comments. Daz says, big up, Daz. I hope you're well." And Daz's second comment is, "Big up, Ozzy. Do you think we will get another two in?" I really hope so, Daz. I'm confident we'll get Mark Gahey and Alexander Isak. In regards to a possible for an attacker, I'm not as confident. I think Gay and Isak will be the two sort of final transfers we do by the end of this window, and I'll be content with that. I think those are the right caliber, the right quality of players that we need in our squad. So for me, I would be up for that. I would be very pleased if we're able to get Isak and Mark Gay. So yeah, let's see, and hopefully, it does happen very, very soon. Daz with another comment says, "Ozzy could even have seen red as well." I'm trying to remember what the moment was. Please remind me, what the challenge was. He was awful all the way around. To be fair, I don't remember him having any moment where it could have been a red card, but he needs to step up his game. He's been awful the last couple of weeks, like really below par. Like even in his bad day, he's not been that bad the way we've seen him this season. So he needs to improve. He really, really does. Ozan Kabak, big up Ozan Kabak. He says, "Yo, Ozzy, big up yourself. I hope you're doing well." Um, Ozan Kabak said, "Bro, your four-part emotional roller coaster was hilarious." Yeah, if you haven't seen it, if you go on my Twitter, Ozan Kabak showed four parts of my emotional roller coaster as I celebrated Rio Ngamo's goal last night. Yeah, it was definitely a funny watch. So yeah, big up yourself for that. Um, and then and then on the comeback, just describing the policies. Like in the first photo, I was a little bored out of his mind. Then he sees Szoboszlai's dummy and his eyes lit up as Rio slots it in, man, went into Panadonium. I did. I went berserk. So I'm normally very calm and collected, but that moment there, I think all that frustration built in the game, I was just like, thank God. Like it was a great moment because of course it was Rio who scored the goal and we've got such high expectations of the young player. But just the way the game panned out, we were awful. We didn't play great, but we were very clinical in the crucial moments, and that was the difference in the end. So it was definitely pandemonium last night for sure. Uh, let's move on to some of our rivals. Let's see what they've done over match week 2. And Arsenal have been, especially the Arsenal fans, I should say, have been in jubilant mood in the last few days. And to be fair, we'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Rightly so. They hijacked Tottenham's deal to rescue Eze as he returns to his boyhood club. And look, I'll be honest with you guys, I think it's a great move for both Eze and Arsenal. I think he gives them the cutting edge that they probably lacked in their team. And I also think, he has a very important role in that team because he will be the creator that helps Gyökeres unlock the doors. But the Swedish striker is already off the mark as he scored a couple goals in this fixture against Leeds United. The first goal, smart finish as he cuts inside the area and hits the shot towards the near post. Second goal was a penalty, clinical finish from the striker. But in terms of the other goals, during Timber scored a brace through set pieces. So no surprise in terms of how the goals were scored. But what was a surprise is that someone in this world made Timber triple captain in the FPL. So that person, I'm pretty sure, is a time traveler because there's no way that was a calculated decision. In terms of the game, Saka also got himself on the score sheet with a thumping right-footed finish, but unfortunately, it's been reported that he could be out for a few weeks. Now, it remains to be seen if there's any truth to that because Arteta's got a bit of a history of telling porkies, about Saka's availability, especially when there's a big game coming up, and they face Liverpool this Sunday. So, is there mind games being played here? I'm not too sure. So, only time will tell if Saka is in fact fit enough for this big game this weekend. But look, overall, Arsenal produced a great win. Uh, but I'll put the Arsenal fans, you know, back to reality a little bit. They're getting a bit too excited regarding Gyökeres. He scored 2 goals against a team that's just been promoted from the Championship. So for Gyökeres, it's basically like him playing for Coventry because he was banging in the goals against teams like Leeds United in the Championship not so long ago. So look, the bigger test will be this Sunday as he faces the champions. Although Liverpool aren't looking at their best, when it comes to being a solid defensive unit. So let's see what happens. I expect there to be a few goals. But yeah, only time will tell in terms of how that game unfolds. Just got a comment here from Ozan Kabak. He says Arsenal fans are already saying that they'll batter us at Anfield Ozzie with set pieces. They are the set piece king. We can't deny that. To be honest with you, um, I don't know if they appreciate that tag, but they are. So they got to play to their strengths to one extent. And Ozzy Kabak says, to be honest, our set piece defending is a bit sus, and I'm kind of worried. I'm worried because of the form that Konate is showing, and I feel like that's impacted the defensive unit. In terms of the set pieces, you're not wrong, because Kirkis for me is a bit of a weak link in that area as well. So yeah, I am concerned as well. I'm not expecting us to um, win the game with flying colors. It's going to be a very tough battle. So let's see what happens this weekend. On to the next fixture is Man City versus Tottenham. Now, what a surprising result this was over the weekend. As Spurs beat Man City 2 goals to 0 at the Etihad. Trafford made his Man City debut and is definitely one to forget as he was pretty much at fault for both of the goals. Brent Johnson opens the scoreline with a close range finish. A great cross from Richardson on that right hand side. But having a look at the replay, I thought maybe Trafford should have done a bit better, with the save. He did get a hand onto it, and it wasn't hit with real venom. But maybe I'm being a tad bit harsh for the goalkeeper. But the second goal, I know I'm not being harsh because that was pure calamity there. Trafford takes forever to release the ball. And once he did, it was too late. As Spurs were aggressive with their pressing, managed to block the clearance, and in the end, allowed Palhinha to take a swipe towards goal, and he makes it 2-0 for Spurs. Now, it's not gone to plan in terms of how Man City would have liked. They've hired former Liverpool coach in Pep Linders, and his objective was to bring a new lease of life to the Man City squad. And look, ironically, he released a book titled Intensity when he was a Liverpool coach. Well, this Man City side lacked intensity against Spurs, and especially in that second goal. So it's not been a quick fix for Man City to recruit a coach from a rival team. But hey, I'll be really honest with you guys, that's a Man City problem. So not for me to discuss any further. Now on to the next game. West Ham versus Chelsea. Now, this result was definitely not a surprise as Chelsea dismantled West Ham 5-1. But what was a surprise was the fact that Cole Palmer picked up an injury during warm up, messed up my whole week as he was in my FPL team. But in terms of the game, Paqueta opens the scoreline with one hell of a shot into the top corner. But after that, it was all Chelsea. Goals coming from Ja Pedro, Neto, Enzo, Caicedo, and then even Chalobah got into the act to seal the victory. And this was all done within an hour. So West Ham fans were vacating the stadium very, very quickly and pretty much missed the last half an hour of the game. In the end, a poor day in the office for West Ham. But Graham Potter's position is already under fire. And I have to be honest, The signs are quite worrying. They've been defensively shocking in the opening couple of games. So it's definitely something that they need to improve on. Uh, but slightly off topic, but the new wonder kid that Chelsea have signed, uh, Estavio, looks like a very special talent. So one to look out for. Chelsea have signed a real special player there. Now on to the next game. Fulham versus Manchester United. One game a week, Manchester United fans told me, but that is not helping them one bit as they can't seem to secure a win so far this season. United normally steal points at Craven Cottage, but for the first time in 15 years, they failed to register a win. United could have taken the lead as they were awarded with a penalty. Bruno Fernandes steps up and hits the ball high and over the bar. Rumor is that that ball is still traveling and could land, anytime soon. So just be on the lookout for a flying football just appearing in your back garden or in some shape or form. But in the second half, United take the lead from a corner kick. But I have to be honest, after looking at the replay, I don't think that should have been a goal. Euro clearly pushes Bessie out of the way before the ball arrives inside the box. So that's a obvious foul without saying it out loud. And but then, even the goal that was scored, he got quite lucky. His header deflected off Muniz and ends up, rolling into the back of the net. So United were very, very lucky with that opening goal. But Fulham respond through a Emil Smith Rowe. Great cross from Iwobi on that left hand side to provide the assist. And 1-1 was the final score. Now, Ruben Amorim has a record of 28 points in 29 games. I'm sorry, but that is absolutely awful. There's no defense for that. I don't care what excuses United fans have. Just because he came halfway through the season doesn't mean, you can't notch up more points than the games you've played. Um, I have a feeling that Amrin will be given a free pass. But, if he continues to play or, lacks any, continuation of gaining points this season, uh, so Jim Ratcliffe may end up revoking that pass altogether. And look, United have a lot of work to do. They've spent a lot of money this summer. Their new attack cost them around 220, 230 million pounds altogether. And they don't look like a huge improvement as a collective in comparison to last year's attack. So, of course, it's very early days, but the early signs are not good, if I'm being brutally honest. And after that result, United are 16th in the league table, I believe. So, a lot of work to do before they can even talk about a top half finish. But on a side note, it looks like the pursuit to, climb up the table will be done without Kobe Mainoo, who seems to be surplus to requirements, as apparently he's allowed to leave the club. Um, which is, how the mighty have fallen as he was touted as the next big thing since sliced bread. But as always, the United PR and the English media overhyped the young player. And look, don't get me wrong, he's a very talented player. But since Amram has arrived at the club, his career has digressed. So a move away from United makes a lot of sense. And after all, you only have to look at the likes of McTominay, who left United to join Serie A, and he's ended up winning, uh, the league title with Napoli, and even Anthony, his spell at Real Betis last season, he looked like a completely different player. And Rashford has started well at Barcelona as well. So the proof is in the pudding. Get away from Old Trafford as quickly as possible. And that is our review of Liverpool's game, plus, one eye on what the rivals have done this weekend as well. So what we'll do now is we'll present the FPL Manager of the Week. Now, in terms of FPL, it's been a difficult one for most because I'm sure a lot of us had Cole Palmer in the team. But one person who got a great scoreline in the end was Kagla. Kagla is the name, and the team name is called Batard, and they managed to gain 84 points. So well done to Kagla, if that is your name. And the score has helped you move up to fourth in the table. Now, in terms of my performance, as I mentioned before, it was ruined by Cole Palmer. Let's not be around the bush. And I saw my guy at Carnival as well, so that didn't help any further for me as well. But because of that, you know, unfortunately, um, I didn't get the best of scores. I got 50 points on the board, so that means I'm currently 49th in the league. I'm already playing catch up. It's only game week 2. So just like Man United, I have a lot of work to do. So what we'll do now is we'll present the top 10 and we'll see, who's moved up the table, who's taking the top spot right now. So right now it is Muma. So Muma is number 1 and remains in the top spot um, with 64 points this week. So well done to Muma. Thomas Boyle has moved up to second. Ellie Clark has dropped to third. Kagala Taga, as I mentioned, has moved up to fourth. Michael Anabanjo has moved up to fifth. Kwame Levels has moved up to sixth. Jamal Zuhur has moved up to seventh. Musa Safraz has moved to eighth. Adebowale Adedeji has dropped down to ninth place. And Alfian Nalandra with the team name Phoenix is currently in 10th place. So big up to you guys. I hope you're happy with your game week, and I'm probably certain that you've started making plans for this match week coming up as well. So yeah, big up to you guys for your points tally this week. Before we close the show, I'm just going to read the last couple of comments and we'll take it from there. Ozzy comment says, we know Maka will start against Arsenal, Ozzy. If so, do you start Szoboszlai again at right back? Great question, Ozzy Kabak. I'm not too sure if I'm being honest with you. I would hope that one of Conor Bradley or Joe Gomez is fit enough. But having said that, if they're not, it's a difficult one. I think the coach will probably have to assess the fitness of the players as the days go on. We've still got a few days until Sunday. I think if we're in the same situation where there's not enough trust to play Gomez or Bradley, then I might go for Szoboszlai there. Because with Szoboszlai at right back, you expect him to produce that kind of performance again. But of course, a I don't mean to be disrespectful to Newcastle, but there's a high level of caliber players that will be facing against Arsenal. Eze will be playing on that left hand side, so it'll be a tricky customer against a Bosley. Um, Florian Wirtz for me wasn't great against Newcastle, and that's a bit of a concern for me. But with these sort of players, you have to give them games. If you drop them now, they're not going to be able to improve or learn from these sort of previous encounters. So for me, Wirtz, I will continue to play him despite a lot of fans questioning his ability or question his reputation as being one of the best number 10s in the world. I've said it numerous times. I think he's one of the best. So I stand by that. I'm not going to change my opinion because he hasn't played well in the last couple of weeks, but it's going to be interesting. I think it'll depend, what else, is happening within the squad. Hopefully we don't have any further injuries or anything to that nature. Um, so there is a part of me that thinks maybe Szoboszlai again for that right back position. I don't think that's a mainstay position for him, but until the international break, maybe we're playing one more time there. And then we have a double pivot of McAllister, Gravenberch, and then we stick with Wirtz in that number 10 role. So only time will tell, but let's see how the squad is looking before that game happens for us this weekend. That says, can you please check my team, Ozzy? Where do I need to strengthen? In terms of FPL, let me see if I can even do that. Um, are you in my league, Daz? I've got a lot of people here, so let me see if I can find you quickly. I don't think you're in my league, Daz. We'll have to. Oh wait, hold on. You said you're 74th. Let me have a. Oh, it's because I'm still on page 1. So let me have a look. There you are, Daz. Okay. So look, I'm not expert because I didn't do great. You did better than me in this match. So let's have a look at your team um, quickly. And you've got Pickford in goal. You got 15 points, so you can't rule him out. Nuri is a good shout. Virgil's fine. Rondon's okay as well. Kirkes, you might have to shift him if I'm being honest with you. Reinders, Neto, Salah, Tielemans. Yeah, not bad selection there. Edward, I take off Edward. He shouldn't be there. Mateta should be ahead of him if you want a Palace striker. Um, so depending how many transfers you've got, I've got two left because I didn't make a transfer this week. But if you've got two in terms of availability, then I'd definitely take off. I'd personally take off Palmer. Because of course he's got a bit more value, but then you could bring on someone that's a bit more worthy. You've already got three Liverpool players. Ekitike would be a great shout. If you can somehow get Ekitike, I think that would be a good move. Um, but yeah, I've not had a look at the options in terms of the FPL, but so far you're not doing bad. You've got 59 points this week, which is not too bad at all. Um, but yeah, I definitely wouldn't start Edward. He's not normally a starter for Palace. Mateta would be above him, in my opinion. Um, maybe Ollie Watkins could be an option for that striker role. Um, Ekitike would be a good shot, but then again, Ekitike, if we were to sign Isak, maybe his position, isn't as regular as it currently is. So, um, yeah, have a look at the market in terms of what you can afford. But I don't think it's a bad team. It's very early days. You can't really predict these things. I've looked at content creators that are experts when it comes to FPL apparently, and they've been woeful with their team selection. So early days. So yeah, I'm sure it'll take time to find the right balance or find the players that will be performing for you in the coming weeks. Delirious Steve says, I'm starting to side with Stuart Oz. Is that in regards to Verts? Nah, come on, come on. It's only two games in now. We can't go that far ahead and say, oh, he's not good enough. He's not flopping. He's just not got accustomed to the Premier League, in my opinion. I think for him, he needs to be a bit more assertive when he gets the ball. I feel like he takes too long to control it or too long to release it. He feels like there's more time than it is. In the Bundesliga, he probably would have got more time, but in the Premier League, it's a different kettle of fish. So no, I wouldn't quite say he's flopping. I don't think that's right. But I've been very honest with my assessments. I've said in the opening game he was decent at best. Last night I said he was woeful. He's one of our worst players, I think, alongside probably Salah. So no, I keep it as honest as I can. He's still got a lot of time to showcase his real quality, and I have every faith that he will in the end. Ozzy come back says, Steve, not gonna lie, you're kind of obsessed with Stewart's like Ozzy is obsessed with Barcola. I am a little bit obsessed with Barcola, I can't lie. Dad 74. Yeah, sorry, Dad. I did find you in the end. Um, Ozzy come back just saying, bro. Either that or you are Stewart's burner. I'm not the I'm not his burner. Uh, but yeah, Stewart does have some interesting points. But yeah, that's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to Oz and Kabak. Thank you to Daz. And thank you to Delu Steve for your comments as always. If you haven't already, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Now, in terms of the Premier League breakdown show, as I've labeled this one, this will take place next week again. I think it'll be on a Monday. I don't think there's any Monday night fixture. So around the same time next week. But in terms of upcoming content on the FTP YouTube channel, we will have another transfer show tomorrow. Hopefully, we get some sort of developments. We're getting slight developments in terms of Isak saying no to the owners that he wants to push for a move to Liverpool, and Liverpool are still in pursuit of signing Mark Gahey. So hopefully, we'll get some news or bombers even tomorrow. And we can discuss that in the show. And then Thursday we'll have our match preview of Liverpool versus Arsenal. So yeah, should be an exciting one. But that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Take care, stay safe, and I hope to speak with you all very, very soon. Goodbye.